why is waiting a losing strategy? So I'd love to hear first maybe from Ray about what we're hearing from our customers as you talk to them, or potential customers as you talk to them, and why are they coming to LSPedia? What's going on?
Thanks, Rose. I think one of the biggest things that we've noticed as a common theme, if you aggregate customer feedback relative to all the customers that we're speaking with, as to what's prompting them to proactively reach out to us, respond to a reach out, come up to us at conferences. And the biggest common denominators, I'd say, are one, they're really nervous, just from the philosophical standpoint, about heading into next year with another system. That's the reality of it. Pharmaceutical drugs is the one industry where you don't have the luxury of cutting corners, of using mediocre systems, of taking chances at all. It's just, so I think that they're coming to terms with that, with all of the deadlines that are all coming up really by the, now. And they're feeling like, well, heading into 2026, do we want to use our current system? If we don't, we should be looking at the market, who else is doing what our current system's doing, and what would it look like to migrate over to them? Is it as easy as we've heard? Is it a little bit more difficult? We should have a conversation with that. I think that's the biggest thing. There's ancillary reasons as well that are usually fleshed out, commonality ones, like they're concerned about their pricing, they're concerned about their system having gaps. Oftentimes our competitor systems have huge gaps that we end up filling, and it just makes sense at that point to migrate the remaining system over. Support is second to none relative to where LSPedia is at versus their current system. But I think the genesis, the thematic genesis behind why they're looking at the market is because they're just concerned about heading into the new year with their current vendor.
Thank you. Thanks, Ray. From a Spring Bio standpoint, what would be your take on this in terms of, why wait? Why is waiting not a healthy thing?
I'll take this, Rose. Thanks for this question. This is Ashwinder. So what we understand from prospects or pharmaceutical companies is they are, like Ray mentioned, in some kind of a fix. They do go through a lot of challenges, but one, they don't know what to expect really as an industry standard. Is that the right kind of challenge, or is there something better? Second, they hope that those challenges won't resurface. And I think one thing all business leaders understand, hope is not a strategy. It's a prayer. So you can continue hoping until it really hits the ceiling, and then it's too late. It's like an insurance policy. You keep on thinking, I'll do it, until you've passed the deadline, and then it's too late. So companies really are looking for, an answer. When should they be prepared, and what kind of effort it would need if they're really looking to make a switch from a legacy serialization provider to a modern new age serialization provider. And one thing we've discovered while talking to a lot of clients is that they don't know that solutions like LSPedia's ones can exist, which can literally take away the entire pain of making a switch, and basically give them a more seamless, kind of an effortless switch experience. They've unfortunately not gone through this while they were while they were scrambling towards the DSCSA deadline. So it was quite a painful phenomena. That's one thing we've discovered, and it's upon us to then educate them on how we can make it that much more seamless as a transition.
Okay.
Rose, I want to piggyback quickly at just one thing of what Ashwinder said that I think is important to note. What we've seen in commonalities with companies coming to us from our competitors, we've been noticing that part of their calculus becomes in discussions, well, if we just wait a little bit longer, I just want to know whether this is going to be a significant problem in the long term or not. It seems like they know that we're discussing, so now they're going to resolve it. They're going to begin marshaling resources, which in and of itself seems problematic, because why weren't they marshaling to begin with as part of their contractual obligations? And why I think this is part of the theme here of a losing strategy is, like to Ashwinder said, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So they could very well put a short-term fix in place and things can go right back to where they were in terms of problematic behaviors in 2 or 3 months. And to like to what I was saying early on, we don't have that luxury in pharmaceutical space. You just don't.
Right.
You can't rely on there might be a fix. That's extremely unstable and problematic, I think, full stop.
True. Very true. Thank you. Prem, from the perspective of our internal teams and the implementations that we actually end up winning and doing, do companies tend to kind of fill in the blanks about why they felt it was a losing strategy and why they chose to make that decision at that point?
Yeah, for most of the companies who migrate to the latest platform, LSPedia, the ambiguity of the question they have is about historical data, number one. Number two is about onboarding with partners and the country hubs. Can I do it without making any production disruption or anything? With the experience of LSPedia, migrated 100 plus customers in recent past. We are well automated with migrating all the historical data without any issue with quality, and also the complete onboarding of, be it with partners or with the country hubs. We have automated every single piece of it. That makes it very simpler, and we also have right plans in place that will make sure the transition is smoother and the customers do not need to face any production disruption during these changes. So
Okay.
that's the success that we have seen, especially with customers onboarding with LSPedia.
Yeah.
That's it.
What goes into a decision to migrate? For those of you who are on the call and are still potentially in this situation, this might help you to kind of take a step back and look at what you've got going on in your organization and think about what actually happens when you decide that it's time to migrate. So maybe Ray, you can give us a little background on what you've been hearing from companies that chose then to do the migration. What were the decisions that they were trying to make there?
Thanks, Rose. I think when we're looking at migrating a system over, as the chief operator of the decision, working with LSPedia, it's my job to make sure, one, I don't want any interruption in my business. Otherwise, this initiative is done. It's not going to go any further. And then two, I want to know what resources I have to devote to this initiative, because this is a business interruption from a human capital standpoint. I have jobs, I have deliverables at my job, and I'm now having to devote more energy to potentially switching out a system that I'm currently using and replacing it with LSPedia, irrespective of how easy it is and seamless, etc. So I want to know, one, is there going to be an interruption? And two, the resources I devote. Those are my two chief concerns. Those are the two chief concerns that most firms and companies have when approaching switching over and migrating to LSPedia. So I think to answer those quickly, one, there's zero interruption. LSPedia has obviously mastered the art at this point. We've switched over, I think, 132 companies in the last year and a half from our chief competitors alone, which is a substantial and frankly disturbing amount of companies that have left other competitors. So we've mastered what it looks like to take a whole system out and replace it with a new system, having zero interruption in your firm's operations. From a utility standpoint, relative to the resources you would need to devote, they're really minimal. And it's designed like that for a reason, because when Rose and LSPedia and I talk about this whole thing being turnkey, it needs to be turnkey during the implementation phase as well. You will have some resources you need to devote, you will have some time you need to devote, but it's usually substantially less than what you predicted before speaking to LSPedia. So I think in total, we do what we do very well. That's the truth.
Thank you. From a Spring Bio standpoint, when you talk to customers who are migrating, what decisions do they talk about, the things that help them push to make the decision to migrate?
Rose, I think amongst a lot of points, a lot of factors, the two main that stand out, one is the amount of effort that the pharmaceutical company would need to undertake in making this migration. And I think we acknowledge the fact that they've gone through a few quarters or maybe a couple of years worth of an effort already when they were preparing themselves for the DSCSA timeline. So that effect is still like a hangover effect, and so they don't want too much of an effort while making the switch. So that's one question that is for us to solve. And second is there a way we can do this modularly instead of completely churning the ocean? So you, like Ray mentioned, have a like zero downtime. So these are two of the main pieces that our clients generally focus a lot on. And as LSPedia, we've been able to successfully sort of share with them case studies where effort from their side is literally negligible after they make the decision to switch and give us the green light. And depending upon what the main pain point is, if they are scaling a new site, if they are clear about which pain point, we can first solve that and then go about the other aspects of the switch. So these are two pieces that we have seen.
Great, thank you. And Prem, just to kind of quickly, when you go into the implementation phase and you start talking to the customers about laying out their migration plan, do they often stress what is that key factor for them to make sure their migration is successful?
Yeah, two things. Again, stability of the system, number one. Number two is about the efforts involved. Stability of the system is something very hard being in the market, and where LSPedia is very strong at. The number of upgrades we take or whatever it is very less, and the stability of the system is great, that the customer do not need to worry about. Number two is about effort. When they have historically onboarded partners in their legacy systems, it takes its own time to connect and talk to each partner and onboard them. But with LSPedia having all the processes automated, it is happening within clicks than multiple discussions, and the testing goes so smooth that they don't need to worry about. And LSPedia takes care of most of those efforts. The customers being in need of spending hours and hours on this, like their historical legacy providers, it's not there in LSPedia. Customers will spend almost rarely no time in such onboarding. That makes it so smooth for customers choosing LSPedia to be migrating easily. That's it.
Migration challenges that we hear about versus the technical and the business benefits of LSPedia and our partners like
Thank you. What we were discussing earlier relative to the peak challenges that they come to us with, those are solved pretty instantly once they realize that there's zero interruption, and they can see why, like I was telling before, it's built on the side, built quietly, existing shuts down after, etc. So once they realize their challenges, they've checked those boxes, then they understand quickly the massive value add that is LSPedia as your provider, whether it's from a pricing, solution, support standpoint, and overall relief of mental energy and equity standpoint. And I think it's at that point that it's just a matter of when they want to execute. And I think the benefits of LSPedia are that we're very flexible. So we give them a lot of leverage and room to maneuver how they want relative to that execution. It could be now, it could be 5 months from now. So LSPedia is a very flexible company, but I think once those challenges are uncovered and addressed transparently at the beginning, it gives companies a sense of relief, so we can just focus on the added value and a timeline for when they want to migrate into LSPedia.
Perfect, thank you. From a Spring Bio perspective, where do you see, from an LSPedia Spring Bio standpoint, where's the benefits? How do we mitigate those challenges?
Rose, I'll give an example, a real example that one of our clients educated us on. So in the pharma world, you have a lot of contract manufacturing organizations, and they have to incorporate the same one scan or alternate serialization solutions. Now, one thing we understand is exceptions do come up very regularly when there are legacy systems. And say one exception that came up was a timestamping issue, which CMO partner took almost 6 days to resolve. But what that does is that gets the entire shipment waiting for that exception to be resolved. So nobody can actually work on the shipment. Think about it from a business standpoint. Think about it from a patient standpoint, who essentially getting the drug, but who's waiting for the drug but not able to get it because the serialization exception has not been handled. When we looked into it, we knew that we could solve it in a matter of hours. And that's just one example of the benefit that a business can get. There are multiple such examples on the business side when it comes to sort of a trade-off between a mitigation effort versus a business benefit. It's just a matter of then speaking to clients what are their top 3 pain points, and then giving them confirmation that this is something we've already solved in a matter of XYZ time. And that's how we basically move about this trade-off wherever we see it.
To Prem, how do you see this as you guys are going through the implementations? What customers are saying, wow, this is so much better?
Yeah, I'll just touch upon only one point around onboarding process. That's where LSPedia wins, especially where our team is involved. With LSPedia, the onboarding process is made so much simpler as well as streamlined and completely automated, where historically whenever they onboarded partners, the customers onboarded the partners with the previous legacy systems, they had to do weeks and months, etc., whether it is onboarding or validation, etc. But with LSPedia, the process is so much streamlined, much smoother, that made them get onboarded within hours than days or weeks or months, whatever they have done. That's the simplest thing that I can say as a technical or business benefit that I have seen with LSPedia customers.